In tonight's headlines, the Foreign Ministry's office in Hong Kong hits out at U.S. President Joe Biden for renewing an executive order which revokes special trade privileges for the SAR. Lawmakers approve a new legislation which requires workers across 25 sectors to report cases of child abuse. And Beijing warns Nato against provoking confrontation after the military alliance accuses China of helping Russia's war effort against Ukraine. The Foreign Ministry's office in Hong Kong has slammed U.S. President Joe Biden's decision to renew an executive order removing Hong Kong as a preferential trade partner. Under terms of the order, the SAR will be deprived of special economic privileges and benefits. Exporting sensitive and restricted technologies to Hong Kong is also prohibited. A spokesman for the Commissioner's Office of the Mainland's Foreign Ministry urged the U.S. to immediately stop intervening in Hong Kong affairs and putting on political shows that humiliate themselves. Biden said the situation in Hong Kong continues to pose an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States. Former U.S. President Donald Trump initiated the order in 2020 as response to the national security law imposed by Beijing after months of anti-government protests rocked Hong Kong a year earlier. The current extension comes ahead of the upcoming U.S. presidential election, where Biden faces a potential rematch against Trump.
Lawmakers have passed a bill which requires workers in 25 professions to report suspected child abuse. Professionals in social welfare, education, and healthcare sectors who neglect or fail to report serious incidents involving physical, mental, and sexual abuse of children will now face a maximum fine of $50,000 and 3 months in prison.
咁如果呢啲政府都認為非常嚴重嘅，都只係最高3個月監。
While most lawmakers voiced their support towards the legislation, lawmaker Michael Tian thought the maximum sentence should be raised from 3 months to 1 year as a deterrent. The person should be able to learn from the experience and reflect deeply to not commit the crime again, Tian said. Secretary for Labor and Welfare Chris Sun greeted the press after the meeting, stating that the bill will come into effect 18 months after the date it was published in the Gazette as an ordinance.
We're going to make use of the coming 18 months to make sure that everything is ready, so that by the time the legislation comes into effect, all the professions who are required under the law to make mandatory reporting, they will get the necessary training, and also they are well equipped to make the reporting as necessary. Of course, with the passage of the law, we'll also at the same time putting in place additional facilities and homes to cater for the increasing cases of reporting. And also we're going to step up our efforts in terms of promotion, publicity, and make sure that we all work together for the welfare and betterment of our children.
The bill was proposed in the Legislative Council last year for scrutiny following a series of child abuse incidents which sparked public outrage and calls for better protection of children. Janice Yu, Cable News.
To tackle the shortfall of dentists in the city, the Legislative Council voted with overwhelming majority to allow non-locally trained dentists to practice in Hong Kong. Those who get hired under the new legislation do not have to pass the licensing exam. The Department of Health will start recruitment soon, and the first batch could arrive in the SAR by the first quarter of next year. However, some lawmakers worry that the appeal is limited and non-local dentists might not be willing to give up their jobs and come to Hong Kong. Health Secretary Lo Cho-mao called it a historic moment for the city's dental profession. This is the most comprehensive amendment to the dentist registration ordinance in Hong Kong in over 60 years, Lo told lawmakers. Starting next year, the new amendment also requires all local dentistry graduates to complete a mandatory 1-year internship at a public institution before obtaining their license. Council member Peter Douglas Kuhn said graduates can only hone their patient communication skills, clinical judgment, and handling of emergencies through actual work experience. He hopes that they will see the internship as a duty to undertake, rather than focusing on the short-term gains and losses.
港大牙醫學院卻在學術自由下。
Councillor Jemmy Chan said the internship requirement prioritizes patient interests and is justified. He also questioned HKU's Faculty of Dentistry for being slow in responding to the Council's requirements, which is detrimental to the students and the public. Several lawmakers suggested a transitional arrangement that allows current dental students to complete their internships during their spare time or school breaks to minimize the impact on their career planning. Low said the government emphasizes the importance of the internship, and the requirement will be maintained even when the dentist shortage is resolved in the future. Jeremy Zhu, Cable News.
Ronnie Wong, president of the Hong Kong-China Swimming Association, said any outstanding swimmer would not be denied competition opportunities and their talents would not be suppressed due to rigid evaluation standards. His remarks came after former Olympic swimmer, actor and owner of Ripple Fly Swim, Alex Fong, accused the association of denying a 9-year-old swimmer from his club a chance to compete in this year's Open Championships. The denial was based on the ranking of the club, despite the swimmer recording a qualifying time. Speaking on a radio program this morning, Wong said if a qualified swimmer belonged to a third-tier club, he or she may temporarily join another club that is eligible for participating in such swimming competitions. The Swimming Association currently follows a 3-tier system. The highest ranking is full member, followed by observer clubs and competition member. The lowest ranked clubs are not allowed to take part in certain competitions, including age group championships. New People's Party lawmaker Adrian Ho suggested the association to seize the opportunity and revise the rules for qualification and club rankings.
仍然係霸住嗰個位嘅話，其實對於下邊嘅屬會咧係冇晉升嘅機會咯。
The association should remove higher-ranked clubs that have been inactive for 2 or 3 years in order to allow lower-ranked clubs to move up, Ho said. To ensure fair rankings, the association should also enhance transparency by disclosing the number of inactive clubs, Ho added. Janice Yu, Cable News. A man has been charged with 1 count of manslaughter for allegedly murdering his 44-year-old stepfather. Police were alerted on Monday afternoon by a 59-year-old woman who claimed to find her 44-year-old husband lying unconscious on the floor of their apartment at Fok Ming House in Fortune Estate in Cheung Wan. Paramedics arrived at the scene and rushed the victim, who had injuries on his head, to Caritas Medical Hospital in Sham Shui Po, where he was certified dead. The victim's family told police that the injuries were sustained when the man tripped at home and fell on 2 separate occasions. Further investigation revealed that the man was assaulted by his 22-year-old stepson during a heated argument. The woman and her 33-year-old daughter were also arrested and charged with 1 count each of perverting the course of justice. The stepson, who is unemployed, is currently detained, while his sister and mother were released on bail. Janice Yu, Cable News.
Posing for a family photo in Washington, NATO leaders issued their most serious rebuke against Beijing for helping Russia in its war against Ukraine. Hosted by US President Joe Biden to mark the 75th anniversary of the Cross-Atlantic Military Alliance, leaders of the 32-nation-strong coalition focused on countering the growing threat Russia poses to Europe.
As NATO allies agreed today in our summit declaration, China has become a decisive enabler of Russia's war against Ukraine. and China's support increases the threat Russia poses to Euro-Atlantic security. Allies have stated clearly that China cannot enable the largest conflict in Europe in recent history without this negatively impacting their interest and reputation, while China is propping up Russia's war economy. This is not just a temporary collision of convenience, it is a major strategic shift.
Beijing has firmly opposed the NATO statement and accused the alliance of provoking confrontation over its ties with Russia. China has repeatedly hit out at NATO criticisms and has warned against its expansion into the Asia-Pacific region after top officials from Japan, South Korea, Australia and New Zealand were invited to the summit in Washington. Sachin Katwi, Cable News.